Good morning and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm your host, Justine Reichman. With me today is Adria Marshall. She is the CEO and founder of Ecoslay. Welcome, Adria.
Thank you, Justine. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I'm super excited to explore this conversation with you. For those that are not familiar with Ecoslay, could we just give them the high level so that as we dig deeper into the conversation, they'll have a better idea of what we're talking about?
Absolutely. So, Ecoslay is a handmade to order, sustainably packaged, plant based hair care company. And we are most recently farm to pouch, as we like to call it, as we partner with local farms in our area. We actually grow the ingredients that we use inside of our hair products.
Wow, that's super. So, what inspired you to come up with this idea? I mean, it's really very innovative, it's thoughtful, and it's not mainstream. It is as it relates to food, but it's not quite as mainstream in the industry that you're in.
Yeah, so I mean, uh, it's been such a long journey, but along this road, I've always known the importance that food plays in my diet and food plays in my hair and body products because our scalps are permeable. And so, for instance, if you have a gluten allergy, it will show up in your hair care as well as your body care. The same flare ups that you experience when you eat something with gluten, you'll experience those same things when you use a topical with gluten as well. So I've always known the connection that is really important and what you put on your body as it is what you put in your body. I am a gardener. My mother was a gardener. My grandfather was a gardener. So I've always had a lot of passion for sustainability, for growing as much as you can possibly grow, for eating really good stuff. And so when I went natural and started to embrace my own curls, I was really appalled by the ingredients that were inside of products. And then I was delighted when I saw that those products that worked best for me were products that contain ingredients that I could grow, like flaxseed, aloe vera, marshmallow root. So that's kind of how the journey began. So I started off going to the farmer's market and picking up flaxseed, aloe vera, processing it at home, boiling, straining, putting it into my hair care. But then later on, as our success grew, like, well, wait a minute, we can actually grow these ingredients and it helps to reduce our carbon footprint, but also it really helps for us to be able to ensure that what we say is inside of our products is actually what's inside of them.
Wow, that's amazing. And I just want to go back to the beginning when you started explaining a little bit about Ecoslay and how the ingredients in there connect to the ingredients that we may have intolerance or allergies to. And I think that sometimes that's often overlooked. And I don't want to speak for anybody else, but as you were sitting there saying this, I was thinking to myself, the only thing I ever really connect that I don't want to have is or sulfur in my hair. And with intolerances like dairy and sugar, I've thought about it when it's been in a body scrub because it's part of the name, right? It jumps out at you. And I'm like, oh, I don't react well to sugar. I don't want to have a sugar scrub. Or I don't want to have a milk bath if milk doesn't really connect with me or doesn't, I don't digest it well. So why haven't we been doing the same thing with our hair?
I don't know, but we really should. I mean, you should really pay attention to, especially those top five ingredients that are on the back of the packaging on the label, because the ingredients are listed in order of volume, just how they are in food that we eat. So if you have an allergy to wheat, you should really be looking at your packaging for your body wash and your shampoo to make sure that wheat definitely isn't in one of those top five ingredients because it's going to affect you the same way that food would.
So when you first developed this idea, what what was the moment for you that you realized that this was affecting so many other things for you and that you needed to be able to create something for yourself?
Like, so my initial goal was just to create some hair care that worked for me because there just weren't products out there that really could get me the results that I wanted. And then it started to kind of go out of control from there. So me looking to see what was in it, like, well, I'm not going to put this junk on my head. It just didn't make sense to me. So it really The I would say the nutritional component came secondary to just being upset and disappointed and disgusted by the filler ingredients
Mhm.
that were being placed in our hair care. And then as I started to do more research on allergens and those intolerances, and then also the good stuff that you want. Like I love to cheat and get as much good stuff in my smoothie as possible, right?
Mhm.
And that's why I think of our hair care the same way. If you can get some of that vitamin A and vitamin B and vitamin C in your hair care, that it's going to help your overall diet.
Right. And were there things that you maybe had intolerances or allergies to that you then decided, oh, I should pay attention to this as I'm building these products for
I,
yourself?
I actually don't have any allergies. I
Lucky
don't.
you.
I know I'm very fortunate that way, but I do know how much better I feel when I eat good stuff versus how sluggish I feel when I eat bad stuff, right? And
Mhm.
so I'm thinking any possible way for me to get those vitamins and nutrients into my hair care is amazing. And our customers, it's funny because they can't quite put their finger on why when they use our products, their hair looks just a little bit better when they use other products. But I'm convinced that that is the reason why. We know where our ingredients come from, and we make sure that they're the highest quality.
So it begs the question for me, right? Sometimes when people are building these products and they're thinking about being shelf stable and they're thinking about the longevity of it, did you have to give something up in order to do that to make it both shelf stable and transparent with these great products?
Absolutely. So we put a lot of thought into this. So our products are shelf stable up to 3 months. Past 3 months, you need to pop them into the refrigerator. And when people pitch a fit about why do you have to refrigerate our products, I'm thinking, well, if you were going to eat something, wouldn't you be concerned if you can still eat it a year, 2 years later? That usually quiets them down a little bit. That same thought process, I'm trying to get that people to think about that when it comes to their hair care and their body care. Like you literally are what you eat, and what you put on your body is just as important as what you put inside of your body. So our products are shelf stable up to 3 months. They're shelf stable up to a year before you open them. But when you open it, the clock starts ticking, much like an item in your pantry, how the clock starts ticking when you open them.
Right. And it's so interesting to think about it this way, to change the narrative for people. Because when I was asking the question, and then I'm in my head thinking, well, then what am I going to do with the product? And you're like, put it in the refrigerator. I see myself going to the shower and forgetting to take it and walking out wet to the
Yeah.
refrigerator to get my shampoo, which I'm sure over time becomes routine, right? You remember to do that, but I
Mhm.
could see that in the beginning. That was my first visual, right? I'm in the
Yeah.
bath, ready to wash, and I'm like, wait.
Exactly. I mean, you do have to form these new habits. Now, we do have a caddy, which is really cool. So you can put all of your products inside the caddy and put them in the fridge. Then you take the entire caddy out and put it into a container on your shower. So it makes it a little bit easier for you just to transfer them all at one time rather than one by one. So we try to make it a little bit easier for you, but it's definitely another muscle that you're going to have to build.
Well, I do think that more and more people are putting smaller refrigerators into their
Mhm.
bathroom for their beauty products.
Right.
So, right, so keeping in mind the dimensions of this and that as you build those things out in our homes, or we build them out in our homes, we can do that. Now, I understand, obviously, rental apartments, it may not be there yet, or it may not be in older buildings, right? You have pre-war buildings in New York, and you have all sorts of things.
Mhm.
Um, but I do think, even just having a regular refrigerator in your bathroom, you can get one of those little small Smeg ones or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, those are really cute.
It doesn't be fancy. It could just be to facilitate keeping it fresh and alive, if you will, for your body and your hair.
Exactly.
So, talk to me a little bit about this. Is this your first foray into being a founder?
Yeah, it is. And then, like I said, it happened quite by accident. I wasn't out there trying to start a business. I just really wanted good hair care with really good ingredients that worked for my own hair. Then it turned out that it really resonated with a lot of other people. And so, here we are. But yeah, this is my first business.
So, what was that like for you? What I mean, originally you're working for somebody else. People have their vision, and you're following their lead, so to speak, right? And they're what they're trying to drive and create. And now you've taken a role where you are now that leader, that visionary. So, can you talk to me a little bit about that change for yourself and what that was like? Scary, fun, intimidating, or easy breezy, and it felt like natural.
Absolutely not. I mean, it was terrifying. So, at first it's exciting, but then the orders keep coming in, and you start to get that fear, that imposter syndrome a bit, and then you also realize that, oh my goodness, there's no one for me to answer to other than your customer. That's who my
Right.
boss really is, you
Mhm.
know. So there is a lot of freedom that comes with it, but it's frightening too, and especially 'cause now I have a staff of 13. So it's
Congratulations.
thank you.
That is exciting.
Yes, it's really
And
great,
that's a
but
big
it's
accomplishment too, to be able to have built a business that is sustainable to
yeah,
afford to have 13 people.
yeah, it's great. But with that comes a lot of responsibility also, right? So it's that added weight of wanting to make solid business decisions, do things for the right reason, because it's not just about yourself anymore.
Right. So from the get-go, when you started this, were you bootstrapping? Did you say, I'm going to raise money? Where was your head at around that kickoff?
I remember, it's so funny because it's been about 6 years now. So the when I had the thought of making a of starting a business, and the very first product that we launched, I knew it was going to be a sustainable business. I really didn't know what I was doing too much, Justine. But I like, this could be a sustainable business. I think this is before I even launched any products. It was just like, let me just think of something that I can do. I'm working for someone else, like you said, but just trying to think in the back of my head, what if, what if, what if. So I created a bamboo etch brush, like for your baby hairs. And the reason I did that was because at the time, a lot of women were using a toothbrush, and a lot of women still use a toothbrush for these little hairs around your edges, and it's not sustainable and it's not good for your hair. So that was my first product. And I remember when I went to my husband and I said, "Can I take $300 out of savings? I think I have an idea." And that's it. And so after that, they didn't sell that much. I'm just kind of doing something, just to keep the juices flowing. And I guess it was about a year or so later. I had been trying to make a hair gel for a while for my own hair. And it was about a year or so later that I started working with a chemist on something else altogether, not even related to the hair gel that I'm working you know, on the back burner. And I just learned these tips from working with him. I'm like, you know what? I think I know what I did wrong with my hair gel. And all this time, Justine, I'm, really engaged in the curly and the natural hair world online, talking to people about what products they're using. We're just trying to figure this thing out together. They're not influencers then. They're just people trying to figure out their own hair issues, and they're documenting it online. So there was someone I had come across on YouTube, and as I'm mixing flaxseed and marshmallow root to make this hair gel, using the advice from my chemist on this other thing, I'm like, well, it works really good for me. Let me send it to her to see what she thinks. And I send it to her. I don't hear anything back. And mind you, I had my little edge brush on my little store. And the reason I had a store is because I was a project manager at the time. And so I'm coaching my dev team as they're creating their stores, and so I'm doing it for myself as well, so I can kind of check their estimates that they give me. So it's not really anything serious. I think I may make 2 or 3 sales a whole month, right? So nothing serious at all. So I put my gel that I send to this influencer on my site, and the orders start coming in. And I go from 0 orders on December 15th to 1,000 on January 1st because she had posted a YouTube video and it went viral.
Wow.
So that's how that all happened. And so, to a long story short of answering your question, I'm bootstrapped from that initial $300 that I had asked my husband for a year ago to create the ash brush that was being sold on our website.
Wow. So what influencer did you send it to?
Her name, I don't know if she is still in the game at all. Her name is Felicia, but I haven't seen any videos from her from a while. But yeah, she definitely put us on the map.
Wow, so that's really exciting. So, as you continue to expand your brand, Ecoslay, and you develop new products from the little brush to the gel, what else can we expect to see down the line from you?
Well, I want to say we have 17 products now.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have several stylers, several cleansers, several conditioners, bonnets, and what I love the most about our
I'm
bonnets
sorry,
is
bonnets? Walk me through the
the
bonnets.
The bonnets are locally sourced. They're made from recycled fabrics and water-based ink. So you'll find the thread of sustainability throughout every product that we have.
Is
They
it, when you
are
say bonnet, is it like a shower cap?
it's a satin bonnet, and so you use it
You
at
can
night.
sleep in it.
And if you don't have one, you should get one
I
because
think so. I don't have one.
you need one because if you think the purpose of cotton is to suck up moisture, right? That's why I use cotton on your towels. Well, your cotton pillowcase is doing the same thing to your hair and your skin at night.
That's why we
So
need
it's
pillowcases too.
a satin pillowcase as well.
Oh.
Exactly. So there are a lot of times, and you'll find this especially in the wintertime when the air is drier. You'll wonder why your hair is just getting drier and drier and drier. Every night it's going to get drier and drier when you're sleeping on that cotton pillowcase.
Wow, that's super interesting. Because I was trying to envision like a bonnet, and then when you said it, it seems like, of course, that makes sense. Like we
Yeah,
hear about it so much for our face, right? Less wrinkles,
exactly.
less this, because you're keeping hydrated. So, and
Exactly.
especially for those folks that do treat their hair, whether color, highlight,
Yes,
perm, I don't care, you name it, you're continuing to dry out your hair. I
exactly.
mean, I'd love to tell you I'm a natural blonde, but really I'm not. And that bleach really does, it keeps it drier so that I don't have to wash it that often and it
Yeah,
doesn't look dirty that often. But equally, I don't know that it's so great to do for your hair.
yeah, yeah. You definitely should. There are a few things that you should do if your hair is color treated. One is have a continuous protein treatment. Um, re- Regimen for your hair. I would recommend you use protein every single week. And you want to do that after you shampoo, put on that protein mask for hours. I recommend leaving it on for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then you follow up with a moisturizing deep conditioner. Let that sit on there for 30 minutes to put that moisture back inside. Because what protein does is it roughs up the cuticles to allow the color from the strands to get pulled out. And then it deposits more color inside of the cuticles. So it's definitely allowing moisture as easily as it gets in, it gets sucked right back out. So it's really important to have a protein treatment um, regimen for your hair to reinforce that cuticle to help lock that moisture in as much as possible and to be continuously putting moisture on your hair so it doesn't dry out and using a satin pillowcase and a satin bonnet.
So let's go back to this whole process that you just described because I'm thinking about it going, wow, you've just taken my 35 or 45-minute routine to get dressed, showered, blow dry my hair, and put a little splash of something on my face to
Yeah.
now a couple of hours I'm feeling. So I'm wondering, how often does one do this?
Only once a week.
So it
And the
could be like
good
a
thing about
Saturday or Sunday activity.
Saturday or Sunday. And the good thing about it is that it makes your daily routine go so much faster because your style is going to last so much longer because you're doing that maintenance every week. So you'll find, like, I don't do anything to my hair but once a week. I'm able to put my bonnet on at night. Then in the morning, I can fluff and go. There's not much to it. And so you'll find something very similar once you kind of train your hair into this routine and it gets used to. You're going to feed it that. I mean, you come back down to your plant, right? It gets used to. You're gonna feed it this. You're gonna give it these nutrients. You're gonna be doing these things on a regular basis, and it will reward you for it.
It sounds like we're talking about women. Are we talking about men too? Are men going to
Yes,
wear the
yeah,
products?
we have a lot of male customers, and I mean your hair, um, this the structure of hair doesn't differ based on your based on
Gender.
your sex or your gender. Exactly.
Right. That's where I was going with it, but I was like, how do I say this?
Yeah.
So now, what is your thoughts on, men get like balding spots. So do women lose hair too, and then
Hmm.
they have the widow's peaks.
Yeah.
How does some of these ingredients that you're choosing to
Hmm.
create some of these serums connect with that? Are there any specifically for that?
So let's just put at the very top of this, right? Of course, the better ingredients, the better your scalp is being fed, the better your body's going to treat you. So that's a given. However, I strongly recommend that if you notice that your hair is thinning or you're having any sort of issue like that, go see a dermatologist the same way that you would go see a doctor. I do not suggest you playing around and looking online and trying to find these oils and treatments because your hair grows in phases and it takes about 90 days for you to see any results from a hair treatment. That's just the nature of these cycles that your hair goes through. So you don't want to waste a lot of time trying different things that may or not be working. It's best to go to a dermatologist who can pull out their microscope and who can get to the bottom of what's causing your hair loss, whether it's stress or hormone related or nutrition related or wherever that case may be. With that being said, we do have some pretty fantastic growth oils that we sell, but it's best to get to the root of the problem first before you start to fiddle around with it.
I think that that's a fair statement. I think it's really sound, and I would agree with it because unless I mean, we're not doctors. I'm not a dermatologist. I could not tell you you're not a dermatologist. Um, so I think it's great to be able to pair a dermatologist and even share your products to say,
Yes,
how would this impact what I'm trying to achieve,
exactly. For
right?
Yes. So, for example, when as I started getting older, I noticed that I started to have shedding. Now we have a fantastic growth oil which works great, but um, when I started to experience shedding because of stress and because of hormones, it was important for me to get that in check
Right.
before I went back to using my growth oil. Now using the growth oil in tandem to what the dermatologist has prescribed for me works amazing. But unless you can really get down to the root cause of the issue, you're gonna be wasting a lot of time that you can't get back.
Yeah, I would agree. Are there any ingredients that you've seen in mainstream products, not to point to any products, that you feel people should be acutely aware of, maybe because they don't understand the impact of them or how they can show up in negative ways or that they're not great for everyone?
Definitely. So definitely the sulfates. Definitely pay attention to sulfates. There's been a lot of recent studies on sulfates as well, as far as linkage to cancer and things. There's nothing definite, but things are pointing in that direction. So we are at the day and age now where there are so many good alternatives to sulfates that there's no reason to really have to go down that path. There was a point in time where if you wanted to really clarify your hair, which I recommend that you do on a regular basis. That you almost had to go to a sulfate just to get that level of clean, but that's not necessary anymore. There's so many cleansers and clays. We make a clay clarifier that don't use a sulfate that you can get past that.
So maybe you can give us
Also,
the top three things that you would look for, or that a customer should look for to avoid.
yeah, I would say sulfates. silicones, and mineral oil. Those would be my top three.
Okay. And what are some of the impacts that you've seen or heard of people using products that contain those three items, ingredients, rather?
So with sulfates, I haven't seen negative impact other than extreme drying of the hair for sure. And then you become on this endless cycle, this vicious cycle of trying to keep your hair nice and moisturized, but the sulfates are continuously stripping the oils and the nourishment from your hair. So that's a good reason to avoid it, other as well as the possible cancer linkages that they are still studying. As far as the silicones, very, very similarly. And so what a silicone does is it builds up on your hair, and you have to use something like a sulfate to really remove it
Right.
from your hair. And so again, you find yourself in that vicious cycle of you want the silicone to keep your hair nice and smooth and shiny, but then it builds up over time. You have to use a sulfate to remove it. Now your hair is dry and hard and lacking moisture. You want to use the silicones. So it kind of feeds on itself. And then there is the mineral oil, which is almost the same thing as the silicone in the way that it operates. It coats the hair shaft. It prohibits moisture from entering the hair shaft, so it blocks out all that moisture, which makes you think that you need to put more of those products with that oil on there, but it just exacerbates the issue.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I just want to go back because I was sitting here thinking for a minute of when we first started this conversation, and you talked about how you evolved from, getting the herbs at the farmers market to then doing things, yourself, then to now working with farmers. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that grew and what it's like to work with the community and specifically the farmers?
It is so rewarding working with farmers. So we are in our we're in our second pilot phase. Well, this is our second full year of working with a farmer. The first year, I mean, it was definitely a lot of trial and error, just getting things to actually grow, because a lot of things that we're growing, they weren't used to. They weren't used to growing, and they weren't used to the amount of yield that we needed for them to have as well. So a lot of conversation. I worked with the Truly Living Well Center for Urban Agriculture right here in Atlanta. So getting to go down to the farm, me and my staff planting the seeds, tending to them, harvesting and bringing the okra back to our shop that we immediately put into our banana cream deep conditioner and our jello shot curl definer has been awesome. And then now we are partnering with the Chattahoochee Hills Charter School, which is amazing. So what Chattahoochee Hills does, they are a charter school that they incorporate agriculture into their curriculum. And so the kids are learning about agriculture along with all of their other studies. And so the kids at the school are the ones actually taking care of our plants. And then we in turn get to teach them about entrepreneurship and all that good stuff. So it's a full cycle, a very, very rewarding experience.
Wow, so you're building better for you hair care. You're working with the farmers to grow your own agriculture, your own herbs, so you can then create the product. And in the meantime, you're working with a school to help take care of these plants, and through that, the kids get education.
Exactly.
I mean, what an amazing vision you had there. I mean, did you have that vision? I know that this was not what you planned,
Yeah.
but when you decided to go to the community and start to grow these herbs, how did you go from just growing them yourselves to then working with farmers to then including the schools? Because not
Yeah.
only are you creating great products, you're also giving back and giving a
Mhm.
platform to these farmers and to the students to be able to grow, make money, but also get educated, as I talked
Exactly.
between the two, right?
Yeah,
So
it's been awesome. We've just been blessed. I mean, it just fell into our laps, and so I did have it on my vision board that I wanted to work with a farm. I had that on my vision board years ago. I bought the domain name Ecoslay Farms years ago. So I kind of put it out there, and I guess about 2 years ago, like, let me just really start to kind of chase this thing down. So I started just calling random farms and getting shot down one right after the other until one finally said yes. So that's when I started working with Truly Living Well for about a year, year and a half. And just so I do not want to exaggerate and say that every product that we make has every ingredient from the farm. We are still in the learning phase, still in the pilot phase of it, but it's super intentional. I will say that last year, all of the okra that we used in the two products with okra did come from the farm. So we are chomping away at our plan, and our plan is to have every single product that has a growable ingredient to be grown on either our own farm, which we will hopefully purchase this or next year, or the farm at the Chattahoochee Hills Charter School. Which
Amazing.
are
Well,
amazing. And I learned about Chattahoochee Hills from my publicist who was watching, who was just scrolling on TikTok, and then she saw this amazing school with this amazing farm. And then she called me out of the blue, like, you have to see this. And so the next week we called the principal, had a Zoom call. He was so excited. And then like a month later it was on the books.
amazing. So
Yeah,
now you have 17 products, is that correct?
about 17. I am
17
I'm
products
losing count.
and 13 staff.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see for Ecoslay in the next 3 to 5 years? How do you envision your future?
So there are a couple of things that we're really excited about. I don't think I shared with you, Justine, that when I had that product that went viral, I had a full time job, so I had to go back to work. So I reached out to a factory to help me fill all these orders, right? Because they did not seem to be stopping. And I'm sure you would not be shocked to know that the factory immediately wanted to change all of my
Everything.
ingredients, everything. They did not want to, I mean, they seemed to be just mystified by the fact that I was hand boiling and straining flaxseed and marshmallow root. There was no way they were going to do it. They were going to go grab some flaxseed extract off the shelf. God only knows what's really inside of that. And going to completely change my product. So I said no to that. And that's when I started hiring people and training people. So I'm doing this as I have a full time job, which was absolutely crazy.
And you still have a
Long,
full time job, or no?
no, 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 no. That's behind me now. Yeah. But long story short, now we launched a program. It's been about a year now called the Ecovator program, and we basically are that factory that we wish that we would have had. So you think about your aunt, your cousin, your friend who thinks that she has the best idea for a body butter, a soap, a lotion, a body wash, but she doesn't need 5,000 units from the factory. She doesn't need high prices that she can't afford when she's trying to make ends meet. And she wants to use really good ingredients. And so that's what we do. We help her out with the formulation and the manufacturing and the logistics and the packaging on her small scale products until she's ready to manufacture larger units.
Now, I'm just curious. I know you have a background in gardening from your grandparents and your parents and you, but it also sounds like you need to have some sort of chemistry background or something to be able to formulate all these different kinds of products. So, do you surround yourself with people with those expertise? Because Lord knows, I mean, none of us have all those expertise, but we have the vision to be able to do that, and we've got some semblance and idea of what we want. How do you make that happen?
So the product that I made that went viral, I formulated that myself. Now I came back and gave it to my chemist, and he tweaked it after the fact. But I did the initial formulation myself just by watching a lot of YouTube videos, to be honest. Now, did I make some mistakes along the way that I had to go and correct with the help of a chemist? Absolutely. So now I work with two chemists. I still work with that initial chemist that kind of gave me the idea of what I was doing wrong with that gel. I still work with him. He's amazing. But I also have a chemist that is in house as well, one of my staff members, and he helps us with the formulation for our products as well as the formulation for the products of our clients as well.
That's amazing. Adria, thank you so much for joining us today. For those folks that are interested in learning more about Ecoslay or even buying some product, where can they go to do this?
Yep. So you can find us on social media at Ecoslay all over, and you can find us at ecoslay.com online.
Okay, thank you so much, Adria. I can't wait to try the bonnet, and I feel like the protein. And then I also feel like, you know, one thing you've just said to me, I feel is so inspiring, is that this happened by accident.
Yeah.
You weren't a founder before, and so many people that are founders were never founders before. But you kind of took what you were interested in and
Mhm.
what your needs were and put them together to create something that is better for you, better for the planet, and better for all, right? So,
Yeah.
and now you're giving back to the community. So, what an inspiration. And I hope that this inspires other founders to build a business that can make such a great impact as well.
I hope so too, because it's really just about putting one foot in front of the other and just keeping that momentum and remaining consistent.
So, Adria, thank you so much. We will make sure to include the link to your website in our show notes. And for those that are listening to the podcast, don't forget you can also watch the video cast on YouTube. And if you're watching the YouTube video and you want to listen to the podcast, we're available wherever you listen to podcasts at Essential Ingredients. And don't forget to follow us at essential.ingredients on Instagram. And we look forward to seeing you here next week. Bye.